All right, now we're back. All right, so I've got the separate Skype set up. So if anybody out there who was once a believer wants to call in and give us their how they came to non-belief via whatever vehicle, what was it that spurred them to take a look critically at their beliefs and give us, it's interesting to hear those kinds of stories, because that's a tough thing to do, to shed stuff that you've believed for a long time and almost you've been inculcated with belief, and that it is a good thing to believe, that it is a positive thing, and to go from there to non-belief, which people who are religious, they don't like us too much. There's various reasons for that, I suppose, including like what is that? What's that theory? Darn it, I can't remember the name of it now. Where you're reminding believers that they're mortal, that there isn't there's a documentary called Flight from Death, which dealt with this, that it was our mortality, and atheists remind us of our mortality, that maybe there isn't something there is no great beyond, and it's something like that. What was the trigger? How were you triggered? How did you come to that? That's always an interesting thing. Just mull that over in your head and give us a call. The number is toll free, of course, 1-587-288-1067. And we're going to talk, I guess, start with the story from the Vatican. The Vatican has a problem, and that churches are dying, and they're needing to get rid of them because nobody's attending, and they cannot afford to keep them running. Oh, gee. Yes. I love this. Vatican to draft guidelines on proper use for redundant churches. So I think that's already a redundant term, redundant churches, but whatever. So they want to make sure that churches aren't used for bad things. Now, what a bad thing is, I think that's kind of in the eye of the beholder. I'd love them to be turned into LGBT clubs, bars,
I was just
whatever.
thinking bathhouses.
Bathhouses.
That's
Bathhouses.
Anyway.
That would be another one. It's so they want to make sure that the use afterward is something that they approve of. Why they should approve of it, I have no idea, because it's not your church anymore once it's sold. Too bad. And so they're going to try and develop guidelines and for that, and see in the run they're having some big meeting, etc. What is this? Yeah, that's basically all it talks about. So it's happening all over in the Western world, and I'm quite happy to see this as happening. I mean, it's good as far as I'm concerned.
I think.
Sorry.
One of the reasons they want to start deflecting attention from the ones that get all the media attention, as it says in the article, that examples of churches turned into nightclubs and gyms garner the bulk of media attention. So now they want people to send in their ideas with the hashtag no longer churches and have more positive exams.
I think we should do that. I think we should do that. We should give our ideas over to them. I like the idea of an LGBT. I'm not sure what nightclub or it'd be awesome.
Counseling service for abused boys.
Yes, something. Yeah, exactly. Something along that line.
Somebody had said, some kind of shelter for homeless people. There's a way to utilize those buildings for sure.
I'm sure these buildings are an absolute nightmare to maintain, though. I mean, especially the more gothic type of thing. I think some of them have been turned into condos in places. And
well, Montreal, condos and bars and restaurants and stuff like that.
What's wrong with the bar?
You know, that beautiful,
Is there
what do you call it? Stained glass and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's
quite stunning.
Beautiful. Yeah, that's absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, the church already serves wine, so you know, it comes to. That's a good question. Are churches obligated to be licensed? I've never thought
I don't think they serve enough wine for that, and I'm sure they've got some kind of religious exemption.
And they don't sell it.
And they don't sell it. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. They just sell the belief system.
I was going to say 10% tithing. You know.
Why can't you tax that, right? It's like
cover
they
charge.
Tax self-help books, right? You know, they tax Deepak Chopra's books, so why can't they tax churches for selling a belief system?
Good point.
Yeah. There was also I don't know if it's up here. There was also the Church of England is poised to somebody bring that item up. Church of England, they're going to be making new churches despite being a church attendance at being at an all-time low.
Oh yeah,
which makes no sense to me whatsoever.
They think if you build it, they'll come.
Yeah. But they've also gone to Parliament in the UK to get protection from having to sell off churches because they can't support themselves. So there's
are they asking for government money?
No, I think they just want legal protection. And it was, but they're making new churches in other parts of the UK. I don't know. That's kind of weird, if you ask me. It's
yeah, it is weird.
Makes no sense, but
if you build it, they will come.
Yeah, doesn't. Yeah, right. I did not like that movie. I really didn't like it. God loves baseball. Yeah, I don't think so. He likes baseball more than kids starving in Africa. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Places wagers and all, apparently.
Yeah. I would have thrown that guy into the asylum. He's clearly mentally ill for building a baseball diamond in a cornfield. It's daft. Anyway, I don't know why that got such critical.
Of all the movies, I have to actually know. It's got to be something dumb like that, right?
Yeah. You didn't know Spotlight. Spotlight's a movie worth watching. What else? I think we're gonna. I don't know. I don't have it up on my screen, so I can't read much about it. But this is just something that seems to be a bit of a disconnect between the financial state of the Church of England and what they're trying to do, and they're trying to get more people by building more churches, which they have too many of already. This is Donald Trump art of the deal crap, you know?
Yeah.
I don't think so, guys. I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah.
The one story that I think that really is going to piss us off is this one, and this is from the Independent. Iranian woman sentenced to 20 years in prison for removing headscarf in protest. And I have a cat coming in. There he is. Hello, kitty. Poor guy. Getting old. Yeah. A cameo performance by Frank the cat. Hi, Frank. Yes.
Hi, Frank.
You're a good boy.
Hi, Frank.
Anyway. Where was it in her name?
Shaparak?
Yeah, Shaparak Shajarizadeh. I'm butchering this.
Shajarizadeh?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I apologize. I can't pronounce that name. Said she had been jailed for opposing the compulsory hijab, Frank, waving a white flag of peace in the street in a post on her personal website. Iranian officials have not commented a spokesperson for the Iranian embassy in London could not confirm the claim and directed the Independent to Iranian judicial sources who have been contacted for comment. So in February, back when all the social media was lit up with people getting rid of their, taking off their hijabs in public in Tehran, they arrested 29 people. And it was a part of a campaign known as White Wednesdays. This particular woman, who's 42, claims that she was subject to torture and beatings after her arrest, her lawyer said, according to Amnesty International. So we're getting it kind of fourth hand here, but I'm sure she was definitely subjected to abuse while she was incarcerated.
It says her current whereabouts are unknown.
Current whereabouts are unknown. And in Iran, women showing their hair in public, oh, goodness me, that terrible thing, hair. They face penalties ranging from $25 fine to prison time. So they're that scared in Iran of women being independent, and this modesty culture just is coming, feeds this, and it's just warped. You can be modest without wearing a hijab, as far as I'm concerned, and forcing women to wear some, this is a symbol of oppression. Of course, Linda Sarsour is nowhere to be found, right? I've not seen any comment from her on this, and I don't expect to hear one, because I'm sure has no problems with this.
I haven't heard much from her lately at all, but...
the less the better.
Let's see, we got a message here from Sam.
Sam is saying something?
I think so, but given that this is my first Skype upgrade day, first time I've used the Skype upgrade, which is rather different, I'm not sure I know how to get to it.
Yeah, I do like the user interface for the desktop app. It's better.
Wow, what an upgrade, but I can't do like a full window, and I don't know. Anyway, sorry, Sam. Send it to me through Facebook or through YouTube or something.
We'll keep on in a similar vein. This one is interesting. Something in The Guardian. Buddhist group leader steps down over sexual assault claims. Mifam Rinpoche. He's the Sakyong, which means basically king or something like. He's the leader of global Shambhala community, and he stepped down while claims are being investigated. It's rather interesting. There was a report that came out that says there's a pattern of behavior, and it was conducted. The sexual assault was conducted with the assistance of volunteers, women volunteers. Carol Murchison is a retired lawyer and sexual misconduct investigator who came out with this report. Shambhala International was aware of these actions and did nothing. So where have we heard that before?
Yeah.
There was a this one woman alleged that these sexual encounters took place at or after alcohol-fueled private parties thrown for the head of Shambhala. That's not very Buddhist, I don't think. At least not the way I think of Buddhism, I guess.
From what I heard, they're not supposed to touch women at all.
I think just the ones that take a vow of celibacy, like the what do you call them? I guess
hard to get.
They're not priests. Yeah.
That was an awful joke.
I didn't catch it. I'm sorry.
I said, what did you call those people that are taking a vow of celibacy? And I said, hard to get. This one woman who volunteered there said that, quote, when I first began to be invited to these parties, I was elated. I felt as though my devotion was being recognized and acknowledged, and that I now genuinely belonged. And she claimed that over the years, when the Sakyong was completely intoxicated, he kissed and groped her while aggressively encouraging her to go to bed with him. She alleges that she resisted his advances for years and only ended up sleeping in his bed on one night, during which she spent most of the time holding a bowl for him to vomit into. I'm sorry, this is actually kind of funny. According to her,
it's really weird.
When she confronted her teacher about his treatment of women, he said that he was sorry, that he had not meant to hurt me, and after that, she was gradually relieved of her tasks in his inner circle. And another woman said, quote, over many years I had several sexual encounters with the Sakyong that left me feeling ashamed, demoralized, and worthless. Like many young women in the Sangha, or the community, I was deeply devoted to the Sakyong and did whatever I could to serve him and be close to him. I witnessed the steady stream of attractive women that were invited into his quarters, and I longed to be the one that he fell in love with and was worthy of being his wife.
You watched this over how many years and thought he might change to want a wife?
I just wow, that's denial. Yeah, delusional denial.
That guy's way too high up on a pedestal.
Well, no, he's just a womanizing piece of crap.
Yeah, but she stuck him up here still after all that.
Yeah, but she could change. That's... I kind of have a hard time feeling sorry for her, actually.
Wasn't there one of those kind of those positive thinking type cults too? Kind of like what do you call it, self-improvement or life coaching? And didn't he get basically busted for the same kind of deal?
Yeah.
Oh, I can't remember what the name of the thing is. Is Nuxium or something like that? Yeah, the guy branded a woman. Yeah. Literally branded a woman.
Wow.
And basically claimed her as his property, and she was on one of those programs.
Some kind of retreat, or
it's like life coaching.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, it's basically like that. Yeah. But
cult of prosperity or something, but it's not.
It's a cult of
It's
personality.
not Christian.
Yeah.
It's secularish, but
yeah. But he worshipped himself, basically, and he was eventually arrested in Mexico and brought back.
Yeah.
He's on trial now. Nexium. That is what it is. Nexium.
Okay.
Look it up. It's NXIAM. Somebody want to look that up and mute their mic before they type? It starts with NX, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it's a really weird cult of Scientology without the aliens. And you don't get a planet of your own. Oh no, wait, that's Mormonism. Yeah, I'm getting them all. They all look the same to me.
I found one article. It said the sex cult that preached empowerment.
Yep, that's probably
and it's NXIVM.
Nexium. Yeah,
how a guru named Keith Raniere, who now stands accused of sex trafficking. He made them feel like they were in control.
Yeah.
When they weren't.
NXIVM.
Weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really strange one. If you get it, A&E.
Do these people do a lot of drugs or something?
No, these people are very wealthy, high standard of living people. And
yeah, it's kind of like they framed it as professional training / life coach. So I don't know. I actually know somebody that kind of, I don't know if it was the same thing, but it sounded very similar, right? Mm-hmm. Had gone on some kind of, expensive retreats and that kind of thing too, hey? So, yeah, it's weird.
It was very weird.
I don't think she got involved in anything like that, or, I'm sure she would have said something, but weird.
Not. I mean, people are embarrassed to get involved in these things and find out that they've been duped.
Yeah. Well, and one daughter actually, she hypothesized her belief that her mother was forced into a terrible life by her father, and her inability to be an independent woman were connected. Jacqueline's mom had been in control but had chosen to be a victim, and Jacqueline was in control and had chosen to be a victim too. Trying to make sense of this, and it's not.
Yeah, it's psychobabble.
Well, psychobabble. We go around.
Women are allowed to be dependent on men. A great part of being a woman is no matter how you screw up your life, you can always move back with your dad. Every time you have chosen to stay dependent, you have made a decision not to be independent.
Guys, you're out of luck.
Yeah, that makes sense, Amelia. Psychobabble.
Yeah,
it must be nice to have that option to go back to your dad. Pretty sure not everyone has that.
Yeah, they're pretty warped.
Yeah.
This article's pretty warped.
Oh yeah, NXIVM is really. If you ever get a chance to watch I think it was A&E. I want to say A&E.
They cauterized a pen to brand the flesh near their pelvic bone and carved a symbol that some women thought represented the 4 elements.
No, it didn't. It was the initials of the head and his wife.
Yeah, K and an R.
Well,
it was.
But it's called a ritual of sisterhood.
Yeah, a sisterhood of the traveling brand. Yeah, wow. NXIVM is a truly screwed. I'd love to get somebody from who was in NXIVM and
try to explain.
Yeah, and just what the inner workings of it. It'd be really interesting. Moving on to more abuse and cover up. This time from the Church of England. This is the Guardian. George Carey allowed church role despite part in abuse cover-up. The former Archbishop of Canterbury was criticized in a report into abuse and the guy who is giving permission, it's called a PTO, a permission to officiate. So it's usually used when a bishop or in the church retires, but they still want to do some take active part within the church. The guy that was giving permission, Stephen Croft, the Bishop of Oxford, is himself under police investigation for allegedly failing to respond properly to a separate report of clerical sexual abuse. You can't trust these people to police themselves, first of all. That's as well understood. And second of all, why are these people allowed to do this? No, you don't. What happens to a CEO of a company that's found to have committed a crime? I mean, they fire his ass. So how is this? It's not just the Church of England, of course, the Catholic Church as well. How is this allowed to continue? Why is there not a popular upcry within the church attending population?
Yeah.
How do they rationalize this away? Somebody was sexually abused by a bishop is being, it's okay, we'll deal with it. In the meantime, he can still preach from the pulpit. I mean, how do you have the moral high ground that they claim to have? It's absolutely absurd.
Is it a God forgives thing?
I was just thinking, I was at my friend graduated, and so I attended, they had a kind of a get-together at his parents' house, and we got talking, another guest and I got talking about Donald Trump and how he just gets a pass. Like, no matter how bad he is, he just, the Christians just, I don't know, either God chose him and this is how God is manifest, blah, 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 or, he's worthy of forgiving.
Or the guy's a piece of shit.
I think sometimes forgiveness isn't such a great virtue,
Yes.
That's not forgiveness. That is
like, we're done with that shit.
Different
we've demonstrated, one strike, 2 strikes and you're out, or whatever, right? Like,
yeah, I don't think of that as forgiveness. I think of that as glossing over crimes. That's not forgiveness. That's being stupid.
And someone explained forgiveness as it has to be the victim that forgives. It can't be everybody else. Forgiveness has to come from the person that was victimized.
Yeah, but the perpetrator needs to accept their responsibility.
That too.
That's a prerequisite for anything, and I still don't think that necessarily forgiveness is the right thing.
No, I agree, and they say, it's about the person who's doing the forgiving, because then you release something. Well, I think there are things that are literally unforgivable,
sure.
And I think I'd feel worse if somehow I managed to, because it would be false.
The thing is to move on. What's important is not the forgiveness. The forgiveness can be a way to move forward, but it doesn't have to.
But I think you can still move forward without forgiving.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
yeah.
Maybe you put a bracket in the back of your mind, but some people just do things. Like if somebody harmed my child or my parents or something like that, no, I'm not going to. Like in some, no, I'm not going to forgive them.
Of course not. Yeah. Forgiveness is an overrated quantity.
Yeah. I'd somehow feel that I would be betraying, first of all, myself and whoever, that person had harmed. Yeah.
Now if somebody
and it would just be like lip service. And it wouldn't make me feel better, I don't think. Putting it past me would help, but forgiving, I think would, there's, most things are forgivable, but there are very few things in life, but some of them aren't.
And really depends on the situation.
Yeah, it's contextual, of course. Yeah. But it's the person, for me to forgive somebody something they did to me, they would have to accept that responsibility and do something to show that they actually
they're sorry.
Serious. Yeah.
And acknowledge what they did. Some kind of accountability.
Yeah,
it depends.
Which of course leads into the next topic. We're going to contrast and compare these two cases. Okay. This is in Oregon. This is from Oregon Live. These parents of twins, basically, instead of they were prematurely born. Instead of taking them to hospital to seek proper medical care, they had, when the mother knew she was going into labor, they basically called the members of their church, which I can't remember what they're called. It's Followers of Christ Church. It's just like. That tells me a lot, but they're obviously kind of Christian Science kind of thing, and they what happened was, let's see, to go down here a bit. I can't find it now. Let's see where they were. Okay, I've already said that the twins were born prematurely, and something like 7 weeks, so quite a ways.
That's quite a bit.
Yeah, the infants were 3 pounds 6 and 3 pounds 9, and when one was having trouble breathing, they basically, this is amazing. This is the part that really bugged me. One of the people that was there texted. Oh, gee whiz, where is it? Okay, yeah. A relative texted others asking, "Are you guys hearing that the second baby is dark and they are wanting prayers?"
That's it.
That was, yeah, that's like, come on. Get these, both of these infants to a hospital. I mean, they never had any prenatal care. They didn't have an ultrasound, and so they didn't know there were twins. And the most dangerous thing I can think of in women's health, without proper medical, at least advice, is giving birth. I can't think of anything more dangerous.
Well, there's that issue with the RH factor, and if these people aren't aware of it, in this case, it said the baby's lungs appeared to be airless and suffered from acute respiratory distress syndrome, which is understandable because lungs are the things that need the most attention in a premature baby.
Shot. They need to be given steroids to improve breathing. You're
talking about when you said the RH thing, is that when a negative and a positive blood type get together?
Yeah. I had to get the Rogram shot because I happen to be in the negative.
Me too. Although my husband my ex-husband is too, and so are both my parents, and so is my daughter. So there you go.
Oh, okay. Whereas my husband at the time, he was positive. So.
Okay.
Yeah. And
when I was a baby, I think they were prepared to transfuse me or something before that shot. Because both my parents were negative. Weird.
They were born. They were called blue babies. If you Google blue babies, they're born with their blood just a mess. So they need a blood transfusion.
Yeah.
Like having a massive stroke throughout your whole body, basically, because of all the emboli. So one of the twins was born breached in a bottom first position, so the whole thing was a mess. And so that started at 2:30 p.m. and then there was the text at 4:36, and then at 6:05, I love this. One of the people there, Travis Mitchell, laid on hands, and the family took turns praying for healing as the baby continued labored breathing and changed colors.
Wow.
Hello, death.
Yeah.
Wow. I guess Travis Mitchell, that was who it was. He's the father. It was.
They're so young.
Yeah, 22, 25 years old.
Yeah.
And they knew about the previous case, the Hickman case, which was a very famous case in Oregon. So there's no excuse. They knew this. But the thing is, these people, at least unlike our next example, showed some contrition. And when one of the twins died, they signed a letter which implored other members of their church, their sect, to make sure you seek medical help. Don't rely on this. They've signed a letter that said everyone in the church should always seek adequate medical care for our children.
They apparently learned their lesson.
Well, maybe. But let's just take it at face value for now. And this is a horrible turn of events, but it's totally preventable. It's just it's tragic. And
I can't imagine giving birth and then watching your child die in front of you.
And let alone imagining what it would be like to realize it was your fault. Literally. Yeah. There's no excuse. There's only they ended up with being sentenced to 6 years and 8 months for this because of the previous Hickman case, and they were aware of it from the same group. And they
so the other twin lived?
I think
apparently.
so. Wow. I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they were convicted of negligent homicide and criminal mistreatment, which is basically the same as our next example. Going back to the Stephans case. Oh, I wanted to talk about this first. This is from Pew Research regarding this and other cases in Oregon. Oregon changed its laws in 2011 so that you cannot use a religious defense in not providing the necessaries of life. But there are 34 states and the District of Columbia which legally shield parents on who refuse medical treatment for children on religious grounds.
Wow.
And some even exempt them from abuse case.
Seriously?
So there's exemption allows court to order treatment only in 16 cases, or say states. And only 16 states, they're not the same actually, have no religious exemptions. And in Canada, the court will usually, had a couple of cases where that didn't happen, but usually will order medical treatment. The standard of care be delivered to a child who needs it, and in terms of Jehovah's Witnesses, etc., for not getting blood transfusions.
Well, there was those two girls that.
That's why I said
the chemo thing, right? Yeah.
Yeah, the two First Nations girls that went for some loony
American
in Florida.
Swindler. Instead of getting proper chemo.
Yeah.
Which, what was it, like chances 85% versus pretty much zero?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But their parents got their way.
Yeah, and they probably paid a shitload of money for something that didn't work, whereas you get chemo here as part of your health care. Like, it's ridiculous,
Single payer. It's a way better way to go. So now let's move on to the Stephans. Stephans were convicted last year of failing to provide the necessaries of life for their 18-month-old son, Ezekiel, who died of meningitis, or the complications thereof. And after that, they went to the Court of Appeals, the Alberta Court. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, Baconator at Wendy's is commercials appearing on. I hate that commercials. I don't want your commercials. Go away. They were convicted of, basically they started treating the child with home remedies, and David Stephans claims that that's not true. But it's in the court documents. I mean, whatever.
What's he claiming they otherwise treat him with too? Those stupid take pills of theirs, or what?
Probably vitamins.
They didn't take him to a doctor. They didn't take him in to actually see a nurse or anything. So.
And a naturopath told them to go take the kid to a hospital.
And they didn't.
And then, until it was too late. And when
I'd like to see how his story is going to change now.
Yeah, so they're getting. Well, they went to the Court of Appeals. The verdict was upheld, but it was 2-1. So the tribunal. So when you have a split decision at an appeals court, that does give you permission to go to the Supreme Court of Canada, and the Supreme Court of Canada ordered a new trial, and that will happen next June. And they have opted for judge only in this case. The first trial was jury trial. So,
which makes sense.
Yeah, judge. Yeah, I don't know that they're going to get any different treatment. I don't think we can see the outcome as being any different.
Well, I hope it'll be harsher.
Oh, I
think it probably
I
will
wonder
be.
if they can, if the Crown can actually say, okay, we want more now. But they've shown no. Well, I don't know about Colette Stephans, but David Stephans has shown absolutely no concept that he understands his responsibility, his role in the death of his own son. He's in
Sickening.
total denial.
Yeah.
But
and he's been invited to talk at, like, what was that?
Yeah,
Freaking
so,
Expo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the Grey Eagle Casino, to their credit, shut that down.
Yeah.
Not the whole event, but him. You know, speaking.
They also
yeah.
closed the door on him in a number of those expos, those wellness, the expos. You know that's a
health and
word,
wellness or something.
Or is it body, mind, and spirit? Maybe
something.
Yeah.
Body, mind, and
one of those
spirit.
movement things. Yeah. So we'll see. Hopefully that trial will, be.
You have to wait like a year, though.
Yeah, it's a long time. I mean, I don't think that they're a danger to the public, but they are a danger to their own kids, the health and welfare of their own kids.
I bet they're being watched like hawks, though.
I don't know.
Well,
BC now, I don't know. Nelson, BC.
Yeah. Huh.
We come to the fun topic. This is, of all places, in the Washington Post. Now, it's in the wellness perspective part. So that that word wellness, it's kind of a red flag.
Yeah.
Could walking barefoot on grass improve your health? Some science, no, it doesn't. It doesn't. Anyway, suggests it can. Ha 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 ha. Okay.
Science.
This is by Carrie Dennett, a very credulous person. And this came.
She's a registered dietitian, though, I thought, which kind of threw me because usually they're trained a little better.
But this has nothing to do with diet, so it's I this is something called grounding, walking barefoot in the grass. It feels good, it's great, but so is tying one on at Stampede. Great stress.
I was taught when you have anxiety, use grounding to kind of stop your thought processes and hopefully calm down your flight and fight response, which you can do a number of things. Focus on something else, try to get your mind off of it, touching something. I mean, that to me was what grounding is. Whereas these people, if you get, it's some weird electrical connection to the earth is what they're claiming.
And
something about electrons. It's all very vague.
Yeah, of course it is. This is from the article. One reason direct physical contact with the ground might have there's that word might, right? Might have beneficial physiological effects is the Earth's surface has a negative charge. No, it doesn't. And is constantly generating electrons that could neutralize free radicals acting as antioxidants. You may I'm just reading.
It just feels nice.
You may think of antioxidants as coming from food, and indeed a diet rich in fruits, vegetables, and other foods that provide beta carotene, selenium, lutein, lycopene, and vitamins A, C, and E helps prevent cellular damage from free radicals. Still, it is interesting that we may be able to get them directly from the earth too. No, geez. It's not even plausible. Okay.
And when you look at their research, they didn't measure any of this. They didn't come up with any plausible explanation.
No, this is their explanation. They have no evidence to back it up. Not a show.
Yeah, they didn't measure any ions. They didn't prove that there's a negative charge. There's absolutely nothing to their claims. And they have no control groups in the one study I saw. It is so ridiculous. I can't even believe,
Kevin Francis has joined us, and he's brought up a really good point that grass stains could force you to scrub your clothing, improving your cardio rate. So there we go. There's one advantage. But you know what, actually?
It's all those greens.
Walking on the beach in the sand is actually pretty good for toning up and, for exfoliating your feet and all that, so there we go. That's my claim. And goddammit, I don't live near a beach.
And if you are anxious and you do walk in the grass, it might work as a grounding mechanism because you'll focus on that sensation and take your mind off of what's making you anxious. So in that sense, it could help with get your heart rate back down and get that flight and fight response calmed down. But this, no.
Yeah, sure. Just like, a nice drive to the mountains will kind of clear your head or whatever. Walking barefoot and I don't know, with a little bit of dew on it or something, nice soft grass. Like, yeah, that would be soothing and, I totally see that.
Free radicals get a bad rap because your body needs a certain amount of oxidative stress. And it was interesting because there was they tried to use diets very high in antioxidants with cancer patients, and they broke the codes halfway through the study to take a look and see, get a preliminary results paper out of it, and they had to stop the study immediately because they were killing the patients. Their patients were dying faster in the group that was eating a diet high in antioxidants. So they actually had to stop it. Because they were just dropping like flies. So it's not, one of the best indicators of not having a long life is taking vitamins. Yeah. It actually decreases longevity. It doesn't increase it at all.
If you're not vitamin deficient, just stop.
There's some things that have benefit, like folic acid for pregnant women. Maybe iron for anemic women, or
I take iron for anemia.
But after that, there's really no benefit, and may very well, in fact, almost certainly is detrimental to overall health. But try and tell people this. Yeah,
true.
They also claim that circadian rhythms are better regulated. The contact with the Earth's surface can help regulate our autonomic nervous system, as opposed to doing yogic flying, right, where you're not touching the ground.
I was going to say, contact with, so don't do it on the moon or you're going to get messed up.
I remember that lecture back in the 80s. It was so funny. The Natural Law Party, those guys were going to cure all Canada's ills with yogic flying, and then see these pictures.
Oh yeah, that's right too.
You see these pictures of these guys in a lotus position in midair. Of course, they're bouncing on their asses, right? And so they touch everybody in midair.
Propelling themselves. It's
really
in
cool.
that lotus position and just propel themselves with their knees, basically.
I just remember the ad for the guy that was in our riding. The guy looked like he had a couple of gallons of fake and bake put on his face. I mean, it was like more orange than Donald Trump, and it's like, it was bizarre.
The original orange guy.
Doug Henning. Doug Henning was the head of the Natural Law Party, the magician. I don't know if you remember.
Okay.
It was Doug Henning.
Vaguely. Yeah.
He used to be in Vegas and big, kind of went weird. Anyway,
for some reason they didn't get elected.
Jeez, go figure.
I don't know if this is one of the papers that was cited in that WAPO trash. This is a paper called "The Effects of Grounding, Earthing, on Inflammation, the Immune Response, Wound Healing and Prevention and Treatment of Chronic Inflammatory and Autoimmune Diseases." Let's just say this isn't a clinical trial.
No, there's no control. There's no measurement of how much you need of these electrons to have the effect.
They're also using thermography as a surrogate measure of inflammation, and I'll show you why this is a really bad idea. If we go down to past the gross pictures here, if you go to the thermogram, there's a thermogram. People that are watching right now can see this. It's figure 3, and the thermogram supposedly shows a decrease in inflammation in certain areas where this 33-year-old woman is feeling pain. But if you take a look at the thermograms, compare the groin region, which is intensely bright in one, and not really so bright in the second one.
Yeah,
does that not? I mean, unless that's severe inflammation of the groin that is also disappearing, it seems to me this was taken in a room that was colder in the second photo.
Or the data could be mixed up with a completely different kind of study, right?
I'm just looking. That is so obvious. Why is the groin region much less? The temperature of the groin region less in one than in the other. That might,
obviously there's no control.
Well, that is a control. You can say, look, you can see that it's lower in general. The thermal, the temperature, skin temperature is lower in general, all over the body.
Yeah.
Oh, these guys. Oh, anyway, yeah, I know that skeptoid. I haven't heard it because this only came across my computer today. But Gaetan Chevalier is somebody that has really dissed skeptoid because he just trashed it, but for good reason, of course. I mean, this is just garbage. This is not how you do clinical trials. It's not a clinical trial at all. It's a case study at best. So it's basically somebody had inflammation or injury on the side of her foot, and 2 weeks later, look at that, it got better. Really?
That never happens. People never heal.
It was they call it accelerated improvement.
Compared to what?
Yeah,
they didn't have another control.
Accelerated compared to what? You know, it's all because of grounding. Yeah. Oh, here's a cyclist.
I tried to look at who these guys were, and
there are conflicts of interest all over the place here.
Well, James L. Oshman, Nature's Own Research.
Yeah, that's a name you
biased.
can trust in medical research. Nature's Own Research. Like, Jesus Christ. Does that not raise red flags? I mean, just the name of it.
I should have looked them up, but
I looked them up too, actually, and he seems to be the only person at this research institute. These other people are, Gaetan Chevalier. I mean, he seems to have actual. If you look at the author information.
But usually the first name is the primary guy, and the other guys might just sign on without really doing anything.
Not Gaetan Boucher. Okay, Gaetan Chevalier. He definitely is bought into it. Oh, he's all in. I don't know about Richard Brown.
Well, it says developmental and cell biology department, but doesn't say what he does there.
Well, not to mention that has very little to do with what they're studying.
Electrons and ions and...
Well, Gaetan Chevalier, I looked him up. He is an engineer.
Then why didn't he measure this stuff? He should have data.
Yeah.
Like, couldn't he come up with something? Some kind of meter?
I didn't have time to look up Richard Brown, but he's apparently at the Human Physiology Department, University of Oregon in Eugene. And the correspondence. This is interesting. The correspondence goes to Gaetan Chevalier, but he's not the primary author. Interesting. But anyway, usually the primary author is also responsible for correspondence. Kind of makes me wonder about Oshman.
Maybe he can't come up with the language.
Maybe doesn't. Yeah. Well, maybe he just can't afford the PO box or something. I don't know. It's just. This is a garbage paper. I mean, it's in a journal called Journal of Inflammation Research. I don't know if that's one of those bottom feeders or what, but
where you have to pay to have it published.
Well, you usually do have to pay to get anything published. The journals typically you're paying or the editorial board, etc. like that. It's nothing nefarious. It's just that because they're not like, it's not like if you pay they will publish it. You know that most journals are, if it's accepted then you pay, right?
Okay.
So that's typically how journals operate. It's not pay to publish.
It's not nefarious.
Here's the money, and now you have to publish my paper. It doesn't work that way.
Can I read the conclusion?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I was going to go to the bottom of this.
Accumulating experiences and research on earthing or grounding point to the emergence of a simple, natural, and accessible health strategy against chronic inflammation, warranting the serious attention of clinicians and researchers. The living matrix, or ground regulation, or tissue
tensegrity matrix system. What the hell is
system.
that?
The very fabric of the body appears to serve as one of our primary antioxidants defense systems. As this report explains, it is a system requiring occasional recharging by conductive contact with the Earth's surface. The battery of all planetary life.
The Earth is not a battery. Come on.
Wow.
What is this nonsense? It's just a load of BS. This is what... I went found this stuff on that's not what I was looking for. There we go. The Chopra Center.
Oh God.
Gaetan Chevalier was writing this too. Grounding the human body, the healing benefits of earthing. Being grounded also applies to people. When you are electrically grounded, you feel centered, solid, strong, balanced, less tense, less stressed. And of course, that, as opposed to somebody who's falling from the Empire State Building, who is very,
or somebody
very
who's
stressed,
being like,
very tense,
just touched an electric fence or something, right?
That's a weird experience.
You're falling from the building. You're not balanced.
It wasn't very throughout. Like it wasn't good. It was not good.
You touched a live fence when you were a kid? I did too.
No.
Okay,
as an adult in college, I'd never seen one before, and we were on a field research trip, and I was in the river. I didn't know what it was. I slipped. I slipped and I grabbed it.
Oh.
Yeah. What is this?
Yeah.
Ah! Somebody's like, well, it keeps the cows out of that guy's field. I'm like, oh, that's good.
Yeah. Similar story, but I was a kid when I touched it by accident, and quite the sensation. Yeah.
Needless to say, it didn't give me any of that feeling that they're describing.
No, I'm thinking that when you're not actually being, like electrocuted by a fence or something like that, then you feel like electrically grounded, right? Like, which I dare say is most of you're not being hit by lightning. I think you feel electrically grounded. So pretty much all the time, unless some freak thing happens to you, you're electrically grounded or whatever that means.
And if you can't feel this, what is it? And they're going on about baloney that's not even true. Again, negative electrons. Nobody can find these electrons. Nobody can say how much you need in an hour or a day or 3 weeks.
The ground is not negatively charged. It's electrically neutral. Okay.
Let's hope.
Yeah, no
Otherwise,
kidding.
there might be a downed power pole or something somewhere.
Let me read this here. There's been apparently an increase in illness, whatever that means. Nothing to back it up. But anyway, many people live with daily pain and constant stress, anxiety, depression, and fatigue. They feel out of sorts, not centered, strong, or solid. Do you feel not solid? Okay, I feel pretty solid.
Some days I feel a little too solid. I could stand to drop, 10 pounds of solidity or something. It'd be great,
This is pretty solid. Doctors often can't find the cause and resort to prescribing medications that produce side effects like fatigue, poor mood, gastrointestinal upset, and headaches. There has been an increase in the number of people suffering from autoimmune diseases. 50 million people in the U.S. are suffering from diseases including multiple sclerosis, lupus, inflammatory bowel disorders, rheumatoid arthritis. Researchers don't know the specific causes behind the steep increases in a diversity of illnesses, which is debatable.
The rates haven't increased. There's just more people on the planet.
Yeah. Some say it is because people are eating more unnatural foods. You eat unnatural chickens? I mean, what are the natural foods? I don't know what those are. Than ever, and that the ingredients in these foods could be harmful. While certain lifestyle approaches such as meditation and yoga can help, really, they can help you with.
Oh, I think
chemicals.
Meditation can help you.
Yeah, but not with autoimmune disease.
Or whatever.
Yeah, again, lowers that fight and flight response, that, all that adrenaline pumping through you.
And yoga too.
Oh, this gets even better. Losing touch with the ground. You are a bioelectrical being living on an electrical planet.
That's wow.
That's awesome.
That's totally awesome.
This must be
Totally
some groundbreaking research that they should actually get an award for.
Your body operates electrically. All of your cells transmit multiple frequencies. What? That one, for example, your heart, immune system, muscles, and nervous system.
Okay, evidence.
With the exception of
how they're offering those, kind of like the reset thing where you take, you go on a trip and you take like peyote or something like that, or acid, and you're under controlled clinical conditions. I think that's what was going on when this paper was authored.
I got some LSD and I felt all these frequencies myself.
Yeah.
Another buzzword.
I saw God.
It's just one of those woo-woo buzzwords, frequency, energy, that kind of thing. With the exception of humans living in industrialized societies, all living things on our planet are connected to the ground's electric energy, like a plug.
Evidence.
I don't know. In industrialized societies, you rarely go barefoot outside or wear natural leather shoes. Look, you got unnatural leather shoes? I don't know. That allow you to absorb the ground's energy. For many decades, people have increasingly been wearing rubber and plastic-soled shoes that act as a barrier to the Earth's energy, insulating them from electrical contact with the Earth.
Prove it! Show me the difference between the barefoot guy and the guy in the foot and how much less he's getting. Come on.
People also generally don't sleep on the ground anymore, as many cultures have done throughout history. Yeah, and had back problems. Good job. They live and work above.
Bugs on the ground?
Yeah.
No,
it's not fun sleeping on the ground. They live and work above the ground, or even far beyond above the ground in high rises. Oh no. The truth is, you're disconnected. You're ungrounded. You are not in touch with the earth. Just not in touch with the earth. Could this disconnection be an overlooked factor in the increase of illnesses noted earlier? Oh, we're just asking questions. We're not implying that it'll cure multiple sclerosis. We're not. No. Lupus gone. Just take your shoes off. Walk in the grass.
Damn it, stupid humans! How come you haven't figured this out before? After these hundreds of years. Didn't you notice all those native Indians were never sick from smallpox at all?
Jeez.
They had shoes, though.
I don't think these guys understand the concept of inflammation.
Or frequencies, or electricity.
Or anything.
This is just nonsense. There's a lot of things that cause skin temperature to change, and inflammation can be one. But just being embarrassed. Haven't you ever felt flushed?
Yeah, totally.
I just got to worry about something.
Yeah, there you go. Or me. No, never mind.
Watching something on.
I'm not going to go there.
I'll trigger myself. I sometimes break out in a giant hive that goes away in 3-4 hours or whatever. Yeah. It's weird. Just get this one giant hive in my face, and it's
not all changes in infrared are due to inflammation. Inflammation is just one possible factor.
Especially when you compared that pelvic zone.
No kidding. Why was the pelvic region less intense? There's no good reason for lower intensity if everything could be distilled down to the single factor of decreased inflammation. It's just nonsense. The room was a little cold. Maybe they got her in the first one jogging for a bit first. I don't know. There's so many factors that go into this.
Considering they didn't write down what the hell they did.
No, it's not a proper clinical trial at all. It's just, at best, you can consider it a case study, but you have, before you go to case studies, you have to establish the underlying science first, and that's the only way you can do that is with clinical trials. So shut up and show me the clinical trials.
And I wonder, there's this acknowledgement to Earth FX Inc. I'm wondering if they're developing something to sell based on this.
Yeah, I wonder. It'll be hooked up to wires that plug into the ground.
That's the one thing they did. They hooked up wires out of the room from the bed to the ground
for
outside.
The sleep study. Yeah. So they
didn't measure any current or anything. There's nothing measurable there, but you're supposed to believe.
Well, not only that, but it was self-reported, right? So these people who did these people know that they got the placebo bed, or they got?
They didn't bother with controls.
Garbage.
Come on.
Garbage.
No placebo bed.
They did. But I don't know how they did the study. They don't really go into was it double blind or not. And
which tells me they didn't do anything like that.
No, incredible deficiencies in experimental design. So I throw it out. It's gone. Done. It's garbage.
And this credulous article in Washington Post. Shame on you, Washington Post.
Yeah,
of course, I guess nobody there is trained to recognize any of this stuff. Great job.
Yeah, well, this is kind of an opinion, an op-ed, but they
kind of.
There's kind of,
and it leads with the question: could walking, like the way it's from? It's like, I still have a bailout,
We didn't say
reading questions like that. I question.
Some science suggests it's very vague, right?
Yeah, it's very vague, and that's some science. Yeah. No, there's no science here. It's pseudobabble.
It's all conjecture and pseudoscience.
That's nonsense.
Kevin Francis should call in because he's cracking hilarious jokes here.
Nobody called in to discuss their what was it that caused them to leave religion behind.
Did he call in already?
No one's called tonight.
Oh, well, Kevin, call in.
Did you leave religion?
Did I?
Well, Kevin says walking in the grass can cure frequent multiple grassosis. And then he says in Mexican culture they say gracias. Gracias. Clearly a connection. So
very technical.
Like
it.
Sounds like a Deepak Chopra kind of connection there.
Just
like Kevin, call us.
He could be an author too.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, that's it for me. I'm out of topics.
Sorry, what did you say?
I'm out of topics. I'm done. This is it.
Oh, I thought you said you're topless. You're cutting out again.
Funny looking topless. Yeah.
There is a link to the Australian issuing monthly fines to parents who don't vaccinate.
Yeah.
It's an interesting concept.
Did we? I guess we didn't talk about that, did we? No. We haven't talked about this. Yeah. This is a model I think Canada should look at. This is from The Guardian again. They have a. This is doing that. Okay, sure. You're gonna reload page. Enough. Okay. So, basically, the children, parents that have children that do not have not received their up-to-date vaccinations would lose an end-of-year payment to their family tax benefit. So I guess this is more of a tax diminishment of a tax break. So per year, it's $737 Australian. So the whole thing is they were seeing a decrease in the number of children, or in the vaccination rate of children. It wasn't a huge decrease, but it went from, in terms of conscientious objection to immunization, rose from 0.23% in December of 1999 to 1.77% in December 2014. They wanted to nip that in the bud, and so instead of forcing parents to vaccinate their children, they made it financially worth their while, where it hit people in the pocketbook where it really hurts, right? So that's a pretty good impetus to get your children vaccinated, particularly, I'm sure, in Australia as it is here. It's free. Most vaccinations are, anyway. I've had a few that are not, but that's an adult thing, and it's not.
Well, it's when you're traveling. What is on
Twinrix?
Yeah.
Hepatitis.
Yeah.
I know when I wanted to get immunized against chickenpox, at that time we had to pay, but I think it's standard for kids now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's also fighting they've been doing a pretty good job of fighting the anti-vaxxers there. They've pretty much shut them down, and that's another model we should look at in terms of dealing with it here. Parents who don't immunize their children are putting their own kids at risk as well as the children of other people. Yes, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
Let's see. Then they go on to talk about Britain, because this, of course, is a British paper, but so, they've I can't find the number here, but it was their vaccination rates are at 92.2% in Australia, which is really good. Really, really good. Much better than here.
What are ours?
Oh, you know what, I used to know, and I can't remember what it was, but it's quite significantly lower, especially in rural areas.
Yeah.
Urban areas are much higher.
That surprises me, because there's a lot of new agey kind of people who don't believe in it, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, yeah, I think that it's not a bad idea to look at, the tax breaks that parents get for having children, and taking some of that away if you don't immunize them.
Yeah.
Because you are costing taxpayers money when your child gets sick with these diseases. They'll often end up in hospital.
And they'll, especially if they spread it around.
And get a newborn sick. A newborn can die.
Yeah, can't be immunized.
I think that's what happened at one point in Australia.
We got a phone here, I think.
Oh, cool.
If I can answer it. I could find the button now. Oh, here we go. Did we got a caller? Oh, you got to try again. I could. It was hidden.
Oh, I think it's probably Kevin who's trying to call in.
Again.
Can we? Kevin, is that you?
Oh no, he's there. Here we go.
Oh, okay, cool. Hello.
Are you there?
I can hear you.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can hear you.
Yep.
All right.
Do you have headphones on?
Salutations, all.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have headphones?
Huh?
Sorry. Yeah, just make sure the feed is turned
echoing
down.
back.
It's echoing back. Yeah. Make sure the feed is turned down.
Okay.
Anyway, Kevin.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. You called.
Yeah. What's up doing, guys? A pleasure to always talk to you, of course. Salutations from beautiful British Columbia, boy.
Yes.
Nice to chat with you. So did you have to leave a religion? I can't remember now.
Sorry, say that again.
Did you have to? Did you leave a religion?
Oh, yes. I was born and raised Catholic.
Oh.
Catholicism, it's like masturbation. Everybody does it. Nobody really talks about it. It's not like they here on the West.
So what led you down the path to non-belief? Sorry, you're breaking up.
Yeah, bad connection. Can we bring him in on Skype?
He is on Skype.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. I don't see him in our call window.
Not on. That's a different instance of Skype.
Can we just bring him into our call?
No.
Okay.
Sorry, we can't understand you there.
Yeah.
That's okay. I've got nothing interesting to say most of the time.
Oh, okay. Right. Okay, you're coming through now. Anyway, what led you down the path through to non-belief?
Well, like for a lot of people, it was a long, arduous process. It was not a one-day affair. I clearly remember, though, as a teenager, which, of course, you know, when you go to church as a teenager and your mom drags you to church and she makes you put on that horrible sweater you don't like, you have to go there every Sunday. And I clearly remember at one point in time where I actually looked around and, you know, when you're in church and you're kneeling and standing up and singing and sitting and kneeling and
oh, yeah, you guys
it felt so robotic, so ritualistic. And I remember looking around as a teenager and realizing when people were singing, none of these people had any passion for what they believed in. And I realized there, I say, oh my God, nobody believes this shit. And that was pretty much my first step to apostasy.
You apostate, you. Yeah, we're all I don't know, like, well, Christine was in a secular household. With Twilight, what about you?
Well,
too, but.
I had a parent that was kind of crazy, so when I started looking into religion and figured out it was kind of sounded just as crazy as my parent, I went to Bible camp and they had us read the Bible when I was 13, so I started reading the Bible and I got to Lot's daughters, and I could not believe what I was reading, and I stopped right there. I was like, this is crazier than my mom. So no way I could buy into this stuff.
The road to atheism is littered with Bibles that have been read.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's what Isaac Asimov said, right? That the best advertisement for atheism was, I'm paraphrasing here, is the Bible. It's you read that sucker. I am in awe of people who have read the Bible. It is so boring. So
begat.
Yeah, it's just a horrible. I mean, maybe it works in the original Hebrew, but you know, I don't know
if it's
or
like
Greek,
that.
depending on which book you're looking at.
You know, the Muslims say the same thing about the Quran. They say that, and that's always their go-to excuse. You know, as soon as you point out a fault with the Quran, they'll say, "Well, it's because you haven't read it in the original Arabic."
Yeah.
But even when you ask somebody who has read it in Arabic, they say, "No, it's still a dull as shit book."
But it's perfect. It's the perfect religion.
They're also peaceful.
It's doing it again. Okay. Sorry, I'm just no, it's not. I'm going to restart the engine. Oh, it's gotten bad again. Yeah, it is bad. I don't know why it's doing this. It decides it's going to do this.
Let me hang up here.
Oh, well. Okay.
Bad connection again.
Yeah, it's doing it again.
Oh, now it's gone.
Stupid thing. We're going to cut it here. Cut it here anyway. I'll investigate this. I don't know if this is part of X-Litter. This is part of a problem with other areas.
That's so weird.
for the evening. We're having audio issues again. I don't know what the heck's causing this. It was fine,
Yeah.
but it was doing this before we started, and it's doing it again. So I think we're going to shut everything down and go to bed.
Okay. We'll talk to everybody next week if they can call in.
Yeah.
Sorry everybody for the tech issues.
Yeah, this one's a weird one. I'll see if I can figure it out.
Well, beta was wandering.
All right, so I think we should probably leave it there and then say good night. Bye, everybody. I know it's going to be garbled for everybody else. It's going to be fun for me. Anyway. You've been listening to the Legion of Reason Diversion coming to you from Alberta, Canada. If you enjoyed this episode, consider subscribing to our bi-weekly podcast on iTunes and other podcatchers. Even better, subscribe to our YouTube live sessions where you can join in on the discussion. Thanks for giving us a listen. Music and other sound effects under license from audioblocks.com.